Live from our Kwacha studios in Blantyre, we bring you the latest edition of MBC News. With me, Arthur Chokoto. Our top stories. President Mutharika challenges newly appointed deputy ministers to help government effectively deliver its development agenda. Ministry of Finance calls for affordable financing opportunities to catalyze private sector growth in the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And in sports, Mighty Wanderers Football Club to maintain Bob Mpinganjira as head coach. Glad you could join us. State President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika has challenged newly appointed deputy ministers to help government effectively deliver on development agenda. The president also advised them to observe the rule of law and avoid indulging in corrupt practices. He was speaking at Kamuzu Palace in Lilongwe during the swearing-in of 4 deputy ministers he appointed following his recent cabinet reshuffle. Nkhani with the details.
President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika reshuffled his cabinet on 5th January 2026 and incorporated new faces into the government leadership. The new deputy ministers who have taken the oath of office and oath of allegiance are Togo Tembo, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development; Chipiriro Mpinganjira, Deputy Minister of Natural Resources; Edgar Tembo, Deputy Minister of Industrialization, Business, Trade and Tourism; and Charles Chirambula, Deputy Minister of Health and Sanitation. President Mutharika observed that the country is facing severe impacts of climate change, including devastating floods that are claiming lives and causing huge damage to infrastructure.
I believe you will serve the Malawians with utmost integrity, diligence, and humility. You are joining a cabinet that has already started delivering tangible, positive results. Your appointment is not an appeasement, but to bring more capacity as we confront new challenges. Of late, we have seen devastating floods that have claimed lives and caused huge damage to the infrastructure of this country. This is a clear threat to the socio-economic progress of our country. I urge you to find workable solutions to these challenges as we gain traction with economic recovery.
He also advised them to observe the rule of law and avoid indulging in corrupt practices. The president said corruption is evil and it robs citizens of the services and opportunities they deserve and stores development.
I do not tolerate corruption. I promise you that I will unapologetically deal with anyone involved in corrupt practices, and there will be no sacred cows. I trust that you will rise to the occasion and resist any temptations. Once again, congratulations. Go and serve with honor and distinction.
Mutharika's administration has focused on addressing critical shortages of food, fuel, forex and fertilizer. Since assuming office in October 2025, President Mutharika has prioritized these 4 areas to stabilize the struggling economy he inherited. The strategy involves both immediate and long-term structural reforms. Nkhani, MBC Lilongwe.
Minister of Transport and Public Works Jabi Mhango has assured the public that rehabilitation works on the M1 road are progressing well despite challenges caused by flooding, compensation delays and infrastructure encroachment. Mhango made the remarks during an inspection tour of the M1 road. During the tour, the minister assessed the status of ongoing works at Mpasadzi Bridge in Kasungu, which was recently washed away by heavy rains. Miriam Kaliza reports.
Government is said to be registering steady progress in the rehabilitation of key sections of the M1 road, a strategic transport corridor critical to national and regional trade. The project is part of the broader infrastructure development agenda aligned to Malawi 2063 and the Transport Master Plan. The rehabilitation works covers sections from the Kamuzu International Airport Junction to Kasungu, from Kasungu to Gender Trading Center, from Gender Trading Center to the Nzimba turn-off and onward to Kacheche. The overall objective of the project is to build, maintain and efficiently utilize road infrastructure to support economic growth, improve access to social services and enhance income-generating activities. After touring the road up to Gender Trading Center, Minister of Transport and Public Works, Japi Mhango, expressed satisfaction with the pace of the works, noting that progress remains commendable despite the challenges encountered. Among the major setbacks was the washing away of Mpasadzi Bridge in Kasungu, which significantly increased the scope of work for the contractor. However, the minister said government, working closely with the Roads Authority and contractors, acted swiftly to restore traffic flow through a temporary crossing. He added that construction of a more durable semi-permanent diversion is currently underway.
Contractors from Lot 1 and Lot 2 are doing their very best in terms of quality. Of course, in terms of time, there's been time lapse. They are behind schedule, of course, because of various reasons that have been given, all of them very convincing. As you are aware, in some instances, some important infrastructure has not been removed yet. So that is affecting contractors in terms of advancing their production. In regards to Mpasadzi Bridge, I'm glad to report to the nation that the contractor, ably supported by the Roads Authority, have moved swiftly to address this very, very huge problem. What have they done? Remember when the floods took place, they installed a temporary passageway that is currently in use. However, going forward and to make sure that we've got a much permanent solution, semi-permanent as they put it, they are now putting up another diversion which would then be taking traffic both sides. And I'm assured, very reassuring by the contractor and the Roads Authority that the one that they are putting up now, we should be able to withstand any amount of pressure. So that is good news to Malawians.
Meanwhile, Roads Authority Chief Executive Officer Engineer Amio Jampiti said the M1 rehabilitation project is divided into 4 lots. He noted that lots 1 and 3 are over 70% complete, while lots 2 and 4 stand at about 40% completion, largely due to flooding and compensation challenges. Engineer Jampiti added that Mpomwa Nkamenya alternative route remains passable and is currently being upgraded to ensure uninterrupted traffic flow in the event of further flooding.
The progress of the works has been considerably good, reasonably good over the past 1 year and some months. As we are talking, Lot 1 is approximately at 70% progress. Almost 70% of the road is now good, widened, strengthened with tarmac. Lot 2 is still hanging around 40% with approximately 33 kilometers finished road section. Lot 3 is also quite advanced, hovering over 70% completed, and Lot 4 similar to Lot 2, around 40% or so in progress, with about 25 kilometers of finished road section. So taking it from the past few months, we are making good progress.
The widening and rehabilitation works cover a total of 301 kilometers, of which at least 107 kilometers have been completed and opened to traffic. The M1 road remains Malawi's most critical regional corridor, linking the country to neighboring countries and playing a vital role in trade, mobility and economic growth. Miriam Kaliza, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Government has called for affordable financing opportunities to catalyze private sector growth in the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Minister of Finance Joseph Manamveka said this during National Budget Consultation meeting that was held in Lilongwe on Friday. Manamveka noted that whilst the banking sector is charging high interest rates on loans at 37%, interest paid on savings remains low at 4%, which is not healthy for private sector growth and the economy at large. Details in this report.
The 2026-2027 national budget consultations have commenced in Lilongwe against a backdrop of mounting economic pressures, including a growing public debt, weak domestic revenue performance, and a widening trade imbalance driven by high imports and stagnant exports. Minister of Finance Joseph Manamveka acknowledged that these challenges have significantly constrained fiscal space, with nearly 90% of government revenue now committed to statutory obligations. Despite the challenges, Manamveka stressed the need for the banking sector to shift its focus from government securities and channel more resources into private sector initiatives, which he described as critical for economic growth and job creation.
This is why our private sector, this is why our SMEs are failing to invest, because they have no source for them to get funding or to get that. So we want to reduce one, the rates, and two, also want to reduce the gap between the deposit and lending rates. That's our policy, and we'll make sure we do that, and I hope we'll get the support when we are working on that, because it's not the government that can not develop this economy. The private sector has a big role. After all, we normally say the private sector is the engine of the economy.
Meanwhile, the Economics Association of Malawi, ECAMA, has commended government for steps taken to restore macroeconomic stability, but has since pushed for more economic reforms. ECAMA President Zachitika urged government to fast-track the implementation of property tax, enhance revenue collection through digital systems, and reconsider tax exemptions granted to churches. And a representative of the minority shareholders of listed companies, Mr. Legal Chairperson Frank Harawa, has proposed the listing of some state-owned companies on the Malawi Stock Exchange as one way of reducing government expenditure.
For example, Sunbelt right now is listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange, and the government owns 1%. In the same way, government can list Salima Sugar, they can list Modze Park, they can list ESCOM. By doing that, we're not saying they must give everything. It will be just part of percentage, maybe 30%, and they can say we are giving it to indigenous Malawians. In that way, Malawians will raise capital and give to government for its other developments.
The 2026-2027 national budget consultations, which began Friday in Lilongwe, are expected to continue in Nzuzu and Blantyre later this coming week. Trust Office, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Mangochi District Council has issued a stern warning to school authorities in the district over collection of unsanctioned fees from parents and guardians, describing the action as illegal. Director of Education and Sports for the district, McDonald Kuse, issued the warning in an interview with MBC. Following reports that pupils in some primary schools in the district are being asked to pay development fees contrary to government's free education policy. Francis Banda spoke to Kuse.
Schools are not allowed to correct some funds from guardians and parents. This is not acceptable according to the policy, the policy that the Minister of Education has put in place. You may wish to be informed that just recently the government of Malawi came up with a policy, and all school fees have been scraped off. Therefore, much as we talking about basic education in our primary schools, no head teacher, no school is allowed to correct fees from the parents, from the guardians, from the learners. And actually, you would see that this is going to promote quality education, because some time back, some students, like here in Mangochi, they could not make it, they could not access to basic education just because the parents could not afford to pay for their school fees or some other fees. And therefore today we are happy what the government has done. It has inspired the education officials, it has inspired the chiefs from our communities, it has also inspired parents and guardians, including the learners themselves.
As a council, what are you going to do when tendencies of collecting enrollment fees from pupils in primary schools continues? Because it is understood that some schools are really collecting this fee.
Right now, what our office has done is to reach out to each and every head, each and every school. And we have given them a warning: no school, no head teacher, no teacher should receive funds from parents. As a council, as Mangochi District Council, we have put in place a modality and a strategy to make sure that we should intensify monitoring of implementation of teaching and training in schools, and if any head is found doing any malpractice, then that head will be taken to task.
In his remarks, education analyst Douglas Nyirenda has called on authorities to scale up efforts in ensuring that government's free education guidelines are adhered to. He explains.
Any collection of school fees or school development funds, any collection of money from students that schools can be involved in is out of step with the prevailing government policy of free education. Government has extended the free education to secondary schools as well. In primary school, it has been there since 1994. However, some schools have been collecting some fees from students in the name of school development fund. That is illegal. That is not in tune with government policy. So what is happening in Mangochi by some primary schools which are collecting school fees is not allowed. It is not in line with government policy of free education to all learners. Government has put in place clear guidelines on how free education is going to be implemented, both in primary school and in secondary school. The government is providing grants to secondary schools and seed money in primary schools for development projects at the school and for other recurrent transactions that are there. The guidelines are clear and they are adequate enough to guide each and every school on how government is going to fund the free education. In primary school sector, apart from being supported by the central government, they are also under the local government. So the local government ministry, in its development plan, it also considers different development projects that different schools have in their plans.
You're watching the morning edition of MBC News with me, Arthur Chokoto. A reminder of our top stories. President Mutharika challenges newly appointed deputy ministers to help government effectively deliver its development agenda. Ministry of Finance calls for affordable financing opportunities to catalyze private sector growth in the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And in sports, Mighty Wanderers Football Club to maintain Bob Mpinganjira as head coach. In maternal and healthcare facilities, water, sanitation and hygiene wash services are crucial as they can make a difference between life and death for a mother and her newborn. In our special report, Meklina Chira sheds light on a pressing issue affecting healthcare facilities across the country.
In Chisi district, two health centers tell two very different stories. At Nkuzi Health Center, a year without water has become a living nightmare for pregnant women and new mothers. Yet every month, the facility registers about 21 live births. 21 mothers who must deliver and recover in a place where taps are dry and buckets are scarce. On a metal-framed hospital bed lies Soflet Mangani 35, her newborn wrapped tightly against her chest. She says the situation is worrisome.
welcome, but I was shocked to find there's no water. It is a major concern. We need support to ensure this facility keeps running smoothly.
The facility's medical assistant and in charge, Noel Ongwata, shakes his head in frustration, saying their work is being severely impacted because they can't effectively provide the much-needed care.
We have tried our best to go through all the angles where we could find the assistance, but it seems the issue about the pump, which is the main problem, is something which is not easily affordable, and reaching today we have not yet found the real answer to the problem.
But at the Kui Health Center, just a few kilometers away from this facility, the story is different. Milika Njovialema, a beaming newborn mother, cradles her baby in her arms, said the steady supply of water is a milestone at the facility.
The facility is really green, water is available, and I didn't have any issues cleaning up after delivery. Felt like I was in good hands.
Ethel Ombizi Kayange, nursing officer at Kui, had this to say.
A green environment is a win-win for everyone, patients and staff alike. We work better when it is spotless, and patients deserve top-notch care in a hygienic space. If the environment is dead, it is a major turn-off.
Lest Longani, senior nursing officer and infection prevention specialist at Nchisi District Health Office, admitted the situation at Nkosi.
For Kosi, I would say that at first he had a very good water supply system. Then, fortunately, a year ago, one of the pumps got damaged and it was supposed to be replaced. And as of now, the whole district and also the DHO is aware of it, and we're working so hard to rectify the problem, and we hope that we're going to fix that as soon as possible.
Other facilities like Mpamba Health Center in Nkata Bay and Mzuzu Urban Health Center are examples of what happens when wash services are prioritized. At Mpamba, 28-old Masozi Kamanga echoes America's gratitude that they don't struggle in terms of access to safe and potable water.
Water is a lifeline here. We rely on it for everything, from washing and bathing to drinking and many more.
Mzuzu Urban Community Hospital, with its good toilets and smart facilities, is a testament to the impact of investing in WASH. Florence Muntali, a 28-year-old mother from Masasa, expressed joy over the availability of water at the facility.
The environment is clean, water is available, toilets and bathrooms are top-notch, and even the sleeping areas are good.
Taonga Nyirongo, nursing officer and ward in charge at Mzuzu Urban Community Hospital, shares the sentiments.
If the ward is not clean, it means our patients are prone to infections. Consequently, we might end up losing babies due to pneumonia infections. So, ensuring cleanliness helps to make sure that we have got no infections in this ward.
George Jobe, health activist, stressed the need of investing in water, sanitation and hygiene in the health sector.
In a maternity, it is like you're almost closing that maternity wing because it cannot function without water, hygiene, and good sanitation.
According to the WHO and the UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program of 2023, 37% of healthcare facilities were without basic water services, while more than half lacked basic hygiene. As we live in Kozi, the sounds of crying babies and worried mothers linger. Softly these words echo in our minds. Let's hope that soon Nkuzi will be a story of hope, not heartbreak. Meklina Chirwa, MBC News, Mzuzu.
In business news, major financial institutions in the country have made estimated cumulative profits of over 1.1 trillion kwacha in the just ended year. This is according to trading statements published by at least 6 financial firms that are listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange. Elin Chimoyo reports.
According to published trading statements, each of the listed financial institutions is anticipating to post after-tax profits in excess of 100 billion kwacha for the year ended 31st December 2025. The year has seen a number of banks and insurance firms outperforming each other, with others set to post taxed profits as high as 200% compared to the preceding year. The 6 are Nico Holdings, National Bank of Malawi, NBS Bank, FCB Holdings, FDH, and Standard Bank. The highest profit is expected at Nico Group of Companies, estimated at 332 billion kwacha, trailed by National Bank, estimated between 190 and 211 billion kwacha. The development comes despite a number of economic challenges that rocked the local economy, such as a high inflation, low foreign exchange availability, and other factors that put a strain on disposable income of a significant part of the banked population. Market analysts have, however, attributed this to high interest rates, which helped banks and other financial institutions improve their interest margins and profitability. Such high-end profits also translate to a growth in revenue collection by the Malawi Revenue Authority, which helps the Treasury to fund the national budget. Aside from that, such institutions have often taken a percentage of their profits and channeled them towards corporate social responsibility, improving sectors such as health, education, and innovation. Elin Chimoyo, NBC News, Blantyre.
And finally, in sports, Mighty Wanderers Football Club President Tom Mpinganjira insists that Bob Mpinganjira will remain the coach for the senior team, although there might be some new faces added to the technical panel. Speaking in an exclusive interview with NBC, Mpinganjira said Bob led the team to the 2025 TNM Super League title and does not see the need to change what is already working. The business mogul added that he is planning to send the team outside the country for pre-season training.
I don't think there's any need to change what is working. So this season, I'm not changing anything. However, we're looking at some external training and coaching for these guys. If you look at from the time I took off, we were changing coaches either once a year or twice a year. And I realized that it wasn't working because everyone comes and they want to have a fresh approach. Oh, I'm rebuilding the team. Oh no, I don't like this player, I want this player. So you're buying players and you're stuck with him. Then he comes and says, I want to buy some more players. So I said, this season, I am not getting a new coach. I said, Bob, we'll get him an assistant and we'll just let Bob, because Bob knows all the players. He will not waste our time this season looking for this player or that player or whatever. And that's what happened. And that's why I think Wanderers has succeeded, because we had a player who knew every player who was there, but also knew which players, because he used to go, if you remember, to assist at the national team. So he also knew players from the national team.
And that's it from our newsroom for now. But before we leave, a recap of our top stories. President Mutharika challenges newly appointed deputy ministers to help government effectively deliver its development agenda. Ministry of Finance calls for affordable financing opportunities to catalyze private sector growth in the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And in sports, Mighty Wanderers Football Club to maintain Bob Mpinganjira as head coach. Keep up to date with our news coverage on all our digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You are with me, Arthur Chokoto. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
forecast. We expect more cloudy conditions and thunderstorms and rain over some areas this afternoon. And they'll be heavy, especially over lakeshore areas, which will create a chance of flash flooding. This cloudy and rain weather forecast. We expect more cloudy conditions and thunderstorms and rain